So, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rookies Podcast. This is Alize Temel, and with me is my co host Ryan Lewis. And on today's episode, we will be discussing the effects of COVID on the development and growth of youth sports in Canada. Here to provide us with some expertise into the youth sport culture are two very special guests from Layup Basketball. Layup is a community based basketball program designed for children and youth of ages 6 to 14. Their programs are led by certified coaches and are delivered in Toronto's neighborhood improvement areas for free of charge. So we're very excited to introduce you the head coach of Layup Basketball, Deidre Beaumont, and the basketball operations manager of Layup, Micaella Riche. So welcome, Deidre and Micaella, to the Rookies Podcast, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today about such an important topic in today's day and age, youth sports. So how are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having us. Really excited. I think it's an important topic to speak on. And with Layup, we've had some success in pivoting in this new time. And I think it's important to share the information and the resources as much as possible. So thanks for having us here for this conversation.
Sure, yeah, we're very excited to have you. So to start off, can you tell us about your backgrounds and how you got involved with Layup Basketball? So Micaela, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, I'm from Ottawa, Kingston, Toronto, moved around a lot growing up. I have a background in high performance basketball, mostly on the women's side. I've coached, been involved in the recruiting game. I joined Layup just about a year ago, right before the pandemic. So it's been a lot of fun kind of pivoting and just navigating these new challenges. Yeah.
Again, thank you for having us. My name is Deidre. I've been playing basketball all my life since the age of 6. I got a scholarship to play basketball in Alberta. And then when I came back to Toronto, I saw the opportunity to coach for Layup Basketball. So yeah, I've been coaching ever since. It's been about 6 years now with Layup. And like Micaella said, it's just awesome to see how it has pivoted towards virtual, but just excelling every single day.
All right, awesome. So moving on to our first question, what are some of the ways Layup Basketball and other youth sports programs in general help children?
I can speak a little bit on how we build our curriculum. We do have an evidence base that we refer to long-term athlete development model from Canada Basketball, positive youth development model. We do have an approach to coaching girls that's tailored to providing a positive and safe environment for them to be in and play in. And then future of work skills, just skills identified that kids will need to be able to pivot in whatever jobs exist in 10 years from now. So we do build all of our activities and games off of the hopes of developing those skills on the court. And then a lot of life skills and relationship skills are built as well in our programming. I can let Coach Deidre speak on that.
Yeah, so taking the curriculum to the court, obviously implementing the basketball side, but implementing as well morality skills that they can do outside of basketball, outside of the court. For example, after every session, we do have a post-game huddle where we do talk about, the word of the day. We talk about how that can be used, of course, on the court, but more importantly, off the court. So just teaching these kids life skills daily, and just ensuring that they take what we teach them into their everyday lives.
And aside from the skills that we develop and the basketball skills, off-court skills, there's so many benefits to physical activity, a lot of them being on learning. And so we have a school day program that we do through the TDSB. We both offer our hybrid program, which is the kids will be doing in-person learning in a space, whether they're in the gym or in a multi-purpose room, and our coaches are on a projector and join the class virtually. So they lead a session that way, or our virtual program, if kids are learning from home, everyone's at home, coaches are at home, participants are at home, and we have a household item equipment curriculum plan where the kids can still participate in activities, get all the benefits of physical activity. And it's been really cool to see and hear from the teachers the benefits on concentration, just participation in class, just ability to learn once they've been physically active in their school day. So lots of benefits from physical activity, doing it evidence-based, I think is awesome. And having the right people is huge. As you can see with Coach Deidre, she's kids' favorite.
That's awesome. So we're very interested to hear back in March 2020, last year, when COVID first hit. What was your initial reaction as an organization? How did you kind of come up with these, virtual programs, and how did you kind of pivot from there and change your curriculum and turn it into, something to keep your staff safe and the children participating safe? How was that kind of transition for you and for your organization?
I think one of the first things is we decided we would work from home and stop our school year programming because all of the other organizations in the community were doing it. So we wanted to keep going as much as possible. Eventually, we started working from home and it was declared a pandemic and stuff. That was an interesting transition. I think our team, our internal team came a lot closer. It's funny, Chris, who's not here today, is the one who in our team meeting suggested we build a virtual program. My first reaction was like, okay, I'll entertain this idea and just go with it, And I think a lot of us were a little bit skeptical, but I mean, Chris is always 10 steps ahead and he brings that to the organization. It's huge. And he was in that sense as well. So we just started building right away. We just said, okay, we're building a virtual program. Having the evidence-based frameworks were super helpful because we know basketball, we know what we've been taught, our experiences, and then we have the evidence and the best practices recommendations. So building a curriculum off of that kind of puzzle was a really cool activity. It was also super stressful, don't get me wrong. But just kind of thinking of all the different parts that we needed to be able to develop a virtual program. It was a pivotal moment for Layup. We addressed gaps in access to technology, access to food security, access to equipment. All the participants and our coaches got play at home kits with all of the equipment that they would need to participate for the whole summer, t-shirts and jerseys. So we really tried to address all the barriers that would prevent anyone from participating. Our curriculum is also designed to be done in a 5x5 square foot space or a hallway, understanding that the kids that we serve probably have space restrictions or, live in certain situations where they might not have a basement and be able to go outside. So a lot of things to consider, a whole new curriculum to be built. But overall, we had team meetings 3 times a week. We had team challenges to keep the morale up. The leadership was really, really supportive. We had the tough conversations when the Black Lives Matter stuff happened. We weren't afraid of doing those things. So we had a lot of success overall, right from the beginning of the pandemic, I think because we decided to pivot so quickly. And Deidre was, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I was a part-time coach at Layup, so I wasn't involved, I guess, from the beginning with planning the virtual program. And then, got a call from Micaella saying, we need you on full-time. I said, I'm here, let's do it. But we're going virtual. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? I'm a head coach. I usually coach on the court, on the basketball court. How are we going to pivot towards virtual? So again, kind of like what Micaella said, just, playing with the ideas, seeing how it will go, but just seeing how organized we were. We got the curriculum down and packed like so quick, figured out what we needed for the kids, what we needed for ourselves. We just have a strong core team that came together at a really, really urgent time. And we just kind of put the puzzle together and everything just mended. Everything just happened. When we launched our summer program, Micaella, it was awesome. I was like, wow, this works. This is amazing. And now it's growing. Now we have hybrid, virtual TDSB, so on and so forth. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, it was definitely a big transition, but for the best.
I think just as like and putting myself in an outsider's perspective, I think what you guys are doing is amazing, especially knowing how important and knowing on the sort of research side of things, like when I'm still at Brock University, but knowing about the long-term athletic development model and knowing that at certain ages it's key to be doing participation and making sure you're active, and knowing that you guys are keeping it virtually is a great thing to hear, especially knowing how important it is for the youth. So great job, guys. I'm really happy with
It's also so cool to hear that you took into consideration the, the size restrictions when you're changing your curriculum, and it's really cool to hear that. And I'm really interested to hear about how you being a not-for-profit organization too, how your financing and how your staffing kind of changed and was impacted by the pandemic. If you guys can talk about that.
We have a very, I don't think I've heard our ED say no to any asks. And I think that Layup is a financially stable organization. We have some really big donors and supporters and really, really great partnerships in the community that support financial means that way. We also are able to order a lot of our programming equipment through our partnerships and stuff. So financially, we have support. I think we have a good foundation. And essentially, we've been able to apply for grants because we had a great game plan based on evidence. We had specific outcomes that we were aiming for, and we had a plan in place to execute. So when we applied for grants or support to run some of these programs or purchase the play-at-home kits or whatever it may be, we had a strong plan in place and a strong argument to be asking for what we were asking for. And I just want to touch on the play-at-home kits and the jerseys and stuff. And I think it was so important, especially going virtually, and we'd be asking the kids to turn their camera on and participate, to provide as level of a playing field as possible. And that's where we provide the technology and that as well. But just for the kids to be able to all look the same on the call, and regardless of what space they were in, to have everything they needed to play was really important to the success of our program. And I think that's a big reason that we were so, that we see such unbelievable outcomes from that summer and continuing with our virtual programming is because of those things that we take into account that could be barriers to participation, and how do we tackle them before they are a barrier.
So going off on that, your virtual and your hybrid programs, how about like the participation? Is it, I can imagine it's not the same, or is it the same, or how is it different? And with these virtual programs, how are kids affected? Kids who participate are affected? And yeah, I guess, can you just talk about how the participation of these new programs are?
Yeah, I can touch on that for sure. Again, we have Layup Virtual, we have Hybrid Virtual, and we have TDSB, which are all three different groups. To touch on Layup first, these kids are used to each other. They've played with each other on court, summer programming, and then now having this Layup Virtual within this time period. So they're used to each other. Cameras are always on. We have about the maximum is 15 kids. We usually have 15 kids with cameras on. On the lower scale, maybe 8, but still cameras on, full participation, full engagement. And that's because, like Micaella said, they have all the equipment. They look like each other with the jerseys or t-shirts, whatever it might be. So that's an awesome virtual session. Now going into TDSB, it's essentially their recess. So they have their teacher there. It's about 20 to 30 kids sometimes. So it is a big group. Obviously, at the beginning, it was a little different for them because they're speaking to the camera. Some of them don't want to show their space. But throughout time, everything has been, fully ironed out. They want to be here. They have all their cameras on, full engagement, full participation. Even if they don't have all the equipment, they'll grab some socks and they're with us, playing with their socks or their tennis ball, whatever it might be. So again, that was a work in progress, but now we're fully 100% participation. And then with hybrid, which is a newer program, which I think is honestly one of the best things that we've done in terms of pivoting virtually, because now the kids are with each other. So they feed off their energy, they feed off their friends. Of course, being 6 feet apart and maintaining COVID standards. All in the same room. And the great thing about TDSB and hybrid virtual is that the teacher is there actually working out with them. So if they see their teacher, going hard, they want to go hard as well. So it's just awesome to see. And yeah, so everything has been obviously a work in progress, but we're definitely at our peak.
And to touch on engagement quickly too, I think a lot of it depends on, so to Deidre's point, with the kids in our independent layup program, that's our registration-based program. Those are the kids we targeted that were in person before the pandemic, pivoted to online. A lot of them were in our first summer program with the play at home kids. So those kids are bought in and they're engaged and they're really a strong part of the layup community. They're I guess we have good retention with those participants. So it helps with the online engagement. And to Deidre's point with the virtual school day program, maybe some of these kids, it's their first time doing exercise on the camera, right? Or virtually. And it takes a little bit of time for them to get used to the structure of our program, get used to the rules, get comfortable around each other. But a small barrier to engagement in the beginning, in the early stages with new programs, is the kids being new to basketball online and being hesitant. But to Deidre's point as well, when teachers are participating and engaged both in our hybrid and our virtual programs, it makes the world of difference in what we do.
It's great to hear that the engagement and participation is being effective, especially in a virtual setting. Kind of segueing from that, of course, especially in a time like COVID, mental health and children's well-being and the youth's well-being is so important. And because of this, how do you guys and Layup in general, how do you guys find good ways to motivate the children and the youth to sort of participate effectively and promote participation in a sense, sort of segueing from the conversation we just had?
Yeah. Again, we are very intentional with our curriculum. So we ensure to, but before we start the program, we do like an energy check. We want to make sure that the kids are on the same level. And sometimes they're not, sometimes they're not having the best day. So we do ensure that we keep an eye out, not calling out anyone, but just keeping an eye out. And very intentional with the word of the day. And I think that has really helped with kids feeling comfortable to speak about either, what they're going through, or just speak about, what they like. I feel like a lot of these kids want to be heard. Like the other day, our word of the day was commitment. And what I decided to do was, there was about 7 kids, just asking them one by one, what's their passion and what are they committed to daily, and just hearing some of their answers and them just being heard, that really partakes in their mental well-being, because some of them do want to be heard and they're very, very talented kids. So just, nitpicking the small things and executing and ensuring that, we all are family. We really, really, really build off of that word, because we are a family. And yeah, just ensuring that we do pay attention to every single kid, even if it's 20 kids, we know their names, we know what they like. We really pay attention. We're very intentional as coaches. Again, we do teach the sport, but I'm here personally to be a teacher as well, to be an example, and to ensure that they do have, someone to speak with if they do have a problem. And I've been here for 6 years, and I've had kids pull me to the side saying, Coach D, like, I need to talk to you. And just being that shoulder, and of course, keeping it between the kid and I. Obviously, if it needs to be, given to the team, then for sure. But sometimes it's just, I'm just having a bad day, coach. So yeah, that's how we focus on mental well-being.
Just to expand on that a little bit as well, you talk about the power of role models and the power of having a good coach. And there's statistics that show how much coaches can impact kids' lives directly and how much of a weight that they hold in kids' opinions and motivation. So to have strong role models, these are coaches from the communities that we serve, to have exercise and activities and conversations that promote vision and hope too for more. Sometimes it's hard for the kids to see beyond the pandemic and see past it. As adults, I think we know there's better days ahead, and for kids, you can get stuck a little bit sometimes. So just really promoting their, obviously the benefits of physical health and mental health intersect, but being intentional, to Deidre's point about it, with having quality conversations, thought-provoking word of the day, and just providing a safe space where kids know that they can learn and they have strong role models that they can relate to, I think goes leaps and bounds in the realm of mental health. It's what we can do as basketball coaches, at least.
And to touch on that, like Micaella said, we are from the community. I grew up in Scarborough, Melbourne, where we had a program in person right behind my mom's house. So kind of seeing these kids as babies and now seeing them, 8, 9, and saying, oh, I remember you. I used to watch you playing at Mother Teresa. So I think that's very important, that Layup is very intentional with their coaches, and want them to have similar backgrounds to the kids so we can relate.
That's great to hear, especially putting myself in the shoes. Back when I participated in sport, I played soccer, but just being able to communicate with my coaches on a one-on-one sort of scenario and situation, being able to vent if I needed to, being able to know that I'm here to participate in sport, but I'm also here to just play sports and have a good time and not think about the thing that's happening behind me. So it's great to hear that you guys are focusing on that at Layup. And segueing from that, what would be a way, in your opinion, just as you guys have gone through the experience, is the best way to increase the participation and making it more accessible for children and youth in areas where it might not necessarily be as accessible from others?
So first of all, I wanted to say creating a positive experience around sport and physical activity at a young age is crucial for engagement. Again, going back to the evidence, how do you coach kids that are at this age, at this age, at this age? Cognitively, socially, emotionally, physically, where are they at, right? At what age does it make sense to implement like a timer to complete an activity? At a too young of an age, they don't know what 15 seconds is, right? At an older age, it makes sense to do a drill and time it for 15 seconds, and they feel they develop these skills at different ages, in all of those categories. So when you go back to the evidence, you're able to tailor all of the activities and the games that you do to their age, to their development levels, again, cognitively, physically, socially, emotionally, how you deliver the practices and stuff. The fact that we operate from a trauma-informed approach helps come into situations and understand that it's not about us, and that these kids, through sport, we can either make it worse or make it better. And these kids have certain barriers and baggage that's still in their lives today. And sport can be a great way to release those things, and work on the skills to counter it and find vision and find purpose and break free from that. But if you don't know how to deal with these situations as a coach, you can also make it worse for the youth, right? And reinforce those barriers and those negative responses, that you would perceive as negative responses in youth. So having a trauma-informed perspective in coaching, and having principles around coaching girls, right? Focusing on creating a safe space and a safe environment so they can feel comfortable competing. They feel like they belong, and then they'll compete. Guys will compete They'll succeed, they'll get acceptance and make friends from the fact that they competed and succeeded. Girls, they won't want to compete and they won't want to try new things unless they feel like they belong and they feel like they're connected. So using those approaches when we have our girls only programming and in our co-ed programming, it's beneficial in both settings. Using a trauma-informed approach and really having a curriculum that's designed for the age, the gender, and development stages of the youth is a great way to promote engagement. But I can let Coach Deidre speak on this a little bit. Our curriculum does allow some wiggle room for coaches' creativity. Like the energy checks they can get creative with, some activities loading. So Deidre, if you want to speak on engagement by remixing the curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, the curriculum is definitely a structure, but as coaches, sometimes you have to alter, you have to ensure that, something is not working, and you want to increase participation. How can you do so? So with that being said, we are, I feel like as soon as you come on, and if you both were to ever join our virtual session, it's a safe space. Like you want to be here. We are always high energy, and they feed off our energy. And like I said, they feed off the teacher's energy or whomever is there. And then what we like to do, and speaking for myself as well, is I like to let the kids have a voice. So for stretches, for example, we'll go one by one, Micaella, you do a stretch, and then, Deidre, you do a stretch, and Ben, you'll do a stretch, and that allows participation, engagement, and they feel comfortable enough to show their cameras. So again, just ensuring that every kid has a voice is a keen way to really ensure that they are just here with us and they're active. And we want to make sure they feel comfortable. Of course, if it's your first time on camera, you might be a little shy, but just being very intentional with, the pre-game huddle. I think that's what sets the tone for the rest of the, 45 minutes that we are here with the kids. But yeah, we definitely I nailed it. We know how to get these kids high energy from when you come in.
That's great to hear. The approach seems amazing, just based off of dealing with the youth and involving them more individually is a great aspect, just from an outside perspective. And going from that with all these great benefits, what in the shoes of a parent, maybe a parent that might not necessarily be too open to getting their kid, or might not necessarily think of getting their kid involved in activity and in sport, what would you tell a parent, and what would you make them consider when it comes to putting their child into a sport program like layup?
We are intentional about developing physical literacy skills at a young age. We're intentional about providing a positive experience around sport and physical activity. We know all the ways it benefits your health. We know all the ways it benefits your learning, your mood, your sleep. There's research that proves that sport and physical activity is good for you. And then if you talk about the intangible benefits of what you can learn from personal or individual sports to team sports, it benefits your body. It gives you a goal. It's a great hobby. You can make friends. There's so many benefits to participating in sports. I think Muslim girl participation in sport is something that's an increasing topic because of the cultural barriers, right? About why girls should or shouldn't participate in sports. And there's so many barriers to girls' participation. That's another conversation. Those are the ones that are sometimes the most challenging because of what those barriers are. Like, you really can't do a whole lot about it. But the benefits of youth participation in sport on your development as a whole, scientifically, is through the roof. And then when you talk about the intangibles and the possibilities, I don't know why you wouldn't sign your kid up in a sports program.
Again, I am a coach from Malvern, and growing up, I didn't have any of these things. We were outside and playing with our friends, and that's about it. And again, we do serve, lower priority neighborhoods that yes, now they are starting to give more to these kids, but I feel like A lot of parents want to get their kids in something that's positive and active. And, you want your child to be around, kids, and to obviously have a safe and positive environment. And that's what we provide. And it's free. And along with it being free, we do provide, laptops. If you don't have a laptop, we provide jerseys, and we provide, yes, physical, the physical aspect of basketball, but the morality, the teachings, that we have, obviously the evidence base behind it. So it's not hard to sell layup. I feel like if you just type it in and just look at our Instagram or our website, you're sold. I feel like we just have so many things under our branch, and if and when I do have a child, I want to put them in layup, even if I wasn't a coach. But yeah, we're just an overall amazing, and I'm not just saying this because I work for layup, but just an overall amazing organization.
Just from hearing you guys mention just the inclusivity and the positivity, like mindset regarding everyone being able to participate in this program is great. And it makes me think, in a world after COVID and the pandemic, where we are allowed to be outside and the restrictions are lessened, and we're in a situation where we can get back to play one-on-one. How do you guys see that looking in the future in regards to Canadian youth sports and youth development?
In regards to Canadian youth sports and development, and basketball specifically, I think there's a big conversation around how accessible basketball is. You need a rim, a ball, and some shoes, right? But why are there no courts? Why is it so hard to get on a court and to get in a gym, right? So I think there's buzzing conversation about gym accessibility and accessibility of playing basketball around Canada, and getting it somewhere to where like hockey is, right? There's hockey rinks everywhere. So I do hope to see that. For layup specifically, we do have a contactless basketball program right now. We actually just pulled it to move everything virtually in the last couple of weeks, just in terms of the health and safety of our coaches and following the trends, right? So I think personally we'll want to keep some of our virtual and hybrid program in a smaller capacity after the pandemic, just because we can reach so many more kids, and we think that people have adapted and it's going to be still in demand. We also have awesome home challenges on YouTube, so some of us will remain virtual. But I think the future is really exciting for us and moving forward with in-person basketball because of the contactless. We do want to start towards working towards league play and having teams and house league with layup. So lots of plans for us with basketball after COVID. I think accessibility to gyms, making it easier to get gym space and gym time is really, really important in the Canadian basketball infrastructure. But yeah, I'm curious to see how everyone else is going to pivot as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We're definitely prepared for anything that is thrown at us. Again, we have a curriculum-based program already set in place. So already, if the world pivots to tomorrow, we're open. But this is the new norm. Zoom calls, Google Meet, and I feel like with any organization, even if you work a 9 to 5, I feel like they'll have it would be awesome, but to maybe have like a 1 day off virtual session or whatever it might be. Again, we reach so many people just by doing virtual sessions or Zoom sessions. So I think that this will, and I would love for this to remain here, because it is very impactful. We do have a plan. Everything is set in stone. And again, just what like Micaella said, it's kind of a trend now. Everyone's doing it. It's safer. And of course, that transition into the world being normal is going to be a slow transition. But yeah, again, we have everything set in stone.
So moving on to my last question, but you guys also kind of touched upon this. Do you think the pandemic has changed the youth sports landscape permanently? So for the future, is there maybe anything you'd like to add to our last question, or if you guys want to answer this one?
It's definitely changed the way we operate. Of course, now gyms are closed, but like what Micaella said, I feel like it has put like a hawk's eye on why isn't gyms accessible? Why aren't gyms accessible for kids that play basketball? But there's millions of hockey rinks that are available and free of charge. So I think that just kind of putting that at the forefront and ensuring that when things do get better, that we do have gyms, not only outside gyms but indoor gyms open for kids in the community to play for free, not just a 1 hour gap or a 30-minute gap, age groups and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I'll just add on to that. I think COVID has changed the youth sports landscape from the perspective of the mental health awareness also. I think with social media and kids having phones at like 8 years old now, just being so hyper exposed to everything. There's no filter anymore. So I think mental health at a young age is becoming an increasing topic. And I think COVID, with the pandemic, with being locked up, there's a stat by a report from Participation that says that only 4.8% of kids were getting the right levels of physical activity before the pandemic. The numbers are crazy, right? Of kids that aren't getting physical activity. So I think a lot of things factored into mental health being a primary topic of conversation. And I think that although you'd like for it to be something that older people have to deal with, after having life experience and trauma, now kids have to deal with their mental health as well. So I think that's going to change the youth sport landscape moving forward. One more thing, social justice. Like, I get that's not a part of the pandemic, but it's a part of 2020. So like an approach to working with Black youth, an approach to working with Indigenous youth, an approach to working with different cultural people and not just clumping them in one category. So just having cultural awareness and just an emphasized need for what we provide. And having youth programs that are holistic and that develop kids from a complete perspective.
Yeah, that was very insightful. Thank you, Micaella. And thanks for all your answers. To finish off here, is there anything coming for layup basketball that you guys want our listeners to know about? And how can our listeners reach you?
They can find us on Instagram at Layup Youth Basketball. Search it up right there. If you go on Google, Layup Youth Basketball, the first one right there, click, and that will be our website page. Very, very user friendly. One thing that we do have coming up is home challenges, where coaches do pre-record what we do in our space, and then we'll put it on YouTube, and they can do it and submit it, and we as coaches will watch it. So again, if it's hard to find time to join our virtual session, it's very accessible to go on YouTube and watch what we do, and just fully having just kids from all over join whenever they can. So that's definitely one thing to look out for.
Layup Youth Basketball. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Layup.ca is our website. To Deidre's point, super user friendly. Got some great pictures up there. Lots of information about our programs, about our team. So you can find us there. And as far as what's coming up next, our home challenges. Our summer program. We're wrapping up our school year program right now. So summer program coming up. And just a team that's constantly innovating and trying to tie in the culture of basketball with basketball and provide opportunity for kids. So if you follow us on our platforms, you'll definitely know what's next, but it's good. And I can promise that.
Awesome. Thank you guys once again for the two of you for being here. We enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed it too. And thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.